Bing bong.
This is the iDanSimpson Show.
We do it because it's right.
I love the dialectic.
His testicles became swollen.
Based.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come. Please clap.
Who's this man? This man in the hat. I'm gonna ruin this.
You're a stupid baby down, not me.
Thank you, friends. Okay, hello, folks, live viewers, hello, replay viewers, and welcome to Leftist and Chill with me, your host, iDanSimpson. Yes, today on the show, let's invite on, please clap,
Please clap.
Stu.
Hello.
Hello, Stu. You're an independent reporter, Twitch streamer,
Yes.
and contributor to TheKultureDotTv. We got some links there for you in the chat. If anyone wants to click those, you're on Twitter and Twitch at Left Hand Stu,
Hey, guys.
and also TheKulture.tv, culture with a K. All right, how you doing today? How's your day going? What's
Good.
up?
How are you?
Yeah, it's I'm
good. Just-
beautiful day in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah. It's well, not so nice here. It's just very drizzly here, but that means the snow will be gone soon. So that's always a nice thing. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Excuse me, and I'm happy to have you here with me. Very excited to get to know you a bit, talk about your story a little bit, maybe even your pathway left, and also want to talk about your projects, what you're getting into, and anything else that's on your mind. So, Stu, like we mentioned, you do TheKulture.tv. You have your own channel on Twitch. Go ahead and just what's like the long short of your story? Like who are you, Stu?
Yeah. So I'm originally from kind of smallish town in sort of southern Ontario, Canada, Barrie, Ontario. Anyone knows where that is? It's been described as like sort of a cross between maybe Letterkenny and the town from Banshee. If you've seen either of those shows,
I've seen a little bit of Letterkenny.
Yeah. But I'm now in Ottawa. So I moved here for school about a decade ago, almost now, which is wild to think about. And then, I mean, people say journey left, but I think because I'm Canadian, I think like just with my being Canadian, we're sort of leftist towards the average American, I would say, especially when you're Canadian, you grow up watching so much American media, like news and stuff. And I watched Daily Show almost religiously. So that's kind of where I started, just watching that and making fun of George Bush. And then I guess Bernie Sanders came along and got kind of excited about that because I think maybe the first time I was just graduating university or in university. And I was like, well, yeah, you guys should have healthcare. We have that. It's great. Well, I mean, it's not perfect up here. We still don't have dental or vision there's a lot of like things that could be better here. But like the fact that you guys don't even have that was wild to me. So I guess that would probably be what pushed me further left, is just the realizing how good I had it up here sort of thing, even with all of my criticisms of our current government. But it just, So from there, I went into journalism, went to school, and I've been working at a small sort of local newspaper for the past 2 years. It was like a new grad sort of like internship to work thing. So once you're after 2 years, it's just sort of you move on and let a new graduate take over. So now I'm truly an independent reporter.
Okay. You mentioned Canadians are generally more left than Americans. Are you like trying to like pick a fight? What is happening here?
I'm not. Well, no, I just mean like since we take healthcare, like our sort of socialized healthcare for granted, just the fact that there are Democrats who like when you explain to Americans, you sort of like our liberal party is kind of like your centrist Democratic Party. Yeah. But even our liberals and our conservative party take the fact that we have that socialized medicine for granted. Like they'd never talk about getting rid of it. So I guess that's what I would mean. It's just we have sort of baked in a sort of more socialized system than the U.S., who is our closest neighbor.
Fair enough. Of course, I'm just doing a bit here,
Yeah,
Stu.
no
But
worries.
can you tell me a little bit about the and I'm just gonna mention real quickly TheKulture.tv. I do want to talk about it later, but on TheKulture.tv, the description says something like, let me see if I can pull this up real quickly. I should have had this handy. Politics, news, history, and cultural commentary from Marxists for the struggle. Stu, are you a Marxist?
I would call myself like a socialist. I'm not part of the Communist Party. I haven't even read the little pamphlet that you're supposed to read. I haven't read the Communist Manifesto or any of that stuff. Yeah. So I wouldn't give myself that title, but I jumped on because a lot of communists apparently and Marxists, they don't know how to do production and run Twitch streams very well. So my friend Q, which some of you may, if I'm doing like this is a deep cut, may recognize him as Cormentine when he did do Twitch stuff. He sort of tabbed me to say like, hey, you want to come on, do some production for us and just provide sort of a straight news sort of reporting stuff. And I was like, sure. I was already doing the Twitch stuff on my own time. So I thought I'll jump on. And it's been really there are a lot of really smart people. Brune Seville on Twitter. She's really good with the history stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If I would want to link something right now, it would
Please.
be the sort of 2-part series she did with Aaron Good.
Those are on my watch list. I literally just put them on my watch list today. The Indonesia series. So is that just Jakarta Method?
Yes.
Nice.
It covers a lot of that, and then also a bunch of stuff I didn't know. Even it goes further into that too.
Should I wait? I'm almost finished with Jakarta Method. Should I just finish the book? Should I wait?
Finish Jakarta Method and then watch it. Yeah. But yeah, if anyone else is has some, I'll put the link for the playlist just in your chat.
I got to the part where they explain what happened in Jakarta. They're talking about the whole rest of the world. But anyways,
that's not the right one.
So it's not going to give anything away. Oh, are you dropping something in a chat for me?
Yeah, that's not the right link.
That's fine. Where are you dropping it? Best place to drop it? Probably Twitter because I realize it'll screw with the screen here. No, it's okay. You can drop it. You could drop it in the Zoom chat. I'm sorry. I'm just a little less familiar with Zoom.
Yeah, I was going to drop in your Twitch chat because I just had that open, but I'll put it in the Zoom.
That's the best. I know I got that right now. We good.
No, that's for everybody.
What about J.K. Rowling?
Oh, that was because someone brought up about her pen name and how it's something Galbraith, which is the same name as the guy who invented conversion therapy.
Yeah.
Which she denied, but she only started doing that for her recent books. So it's like that's a wild coincidence, lady.
And it's hello, we all think you're a transphobe. So it's hello, it's you're leaning into it. You can't fucking fake it. You can't hide this.
Yeah. No, and as someone who grew up doing the midnight releases for the books at book Chapters, which is our Canadian Indigo sort of bookstore. I love those books, but also looking back, they're not great. They're not. There's a lot of real problematic issues in there that. If you've seen the Sean video, he does probably a way better job than I could state.
The Sean _vid that account.
The Skull Sean. His videos on it really good.
So Gringotts Bank. That's a problematic bit.
Gringotts. There's the slavery with the house elves. Just all of her naming. Okay, so here's the one that doesn't get brought up, but as a proud Scots Irishman, Seamus Finnegan.
Okay.
So he's one of the only Irish named characters at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
And when you consider the timeline of those books, Battle of Hogwarts, I think is happening early 90s, 1992. What's happening in Ireland in the late 80s, early 80s? What is Seamus Finnegan's one talent?
I actually don't remember.
He has a particular proclivity for making things go boom, to quote McGonagall. Basically it's a running gag in the books that all of his potions and his spells backfire and basically become IEDs.
No, shut up.
The one Irish kid is good at making IEDs.
Is it this link you just gave me? Oh, this is okay. Okay. This is the other link. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Get
that's
the
just my
fuck
personal.
out of here.
Yeah. It's fucking wild.
You hate to see it.
She did a sneak Troubles reference in there that unless you're like you have like a Scottish mom like I do, who like had an Irish dad who told her stories, who told me stories, you're like, oh wait, what is she talking about here? It's that one's wild.
I don't know if I'm just gonna go with this, but I don't know if you caught the maybe one of the more recent Gravel Institute videos. I think it came out on the St. Patrick's Day. I feel like they gave me a history of my distant Irish heritage that I never got from my parents. They never told me about that, and I just had no fucking clue. It's just like potatoes. Yeah, it's a famine.
Yeah,
oh,
well, when you realize the potato famine, they did that on purpose to the Irish. It wasn't really like, oh, they just didn't plant the potatoes right, and then they ran out one time. No, that was there's a lot of stuff in there that people don't really recognize, but there's a lot more obvious stuff, like with Deshaun explaining, like, well, how did she come up with Cho Chang? Everyone, as soon as you mentioned that, everyone like, oh, she named the wolf guy Remus Lupin, which is just wolf twice. Remus from like Romulus and Remus, the Roman founder who was raised by wolves. Lupin is Latin for wolf. There's a few of those in there.
So Harry Potter's problematic. The Culture.tv hasn't done an episode on that yet. I'll be looking forward to those. I will say my favorites, and I'm really happy you brought up the name of someone. By the way, when I first learned about
Seville.
Yes.
Haley.
Holy shit.
She's very smart.
Everyone's great. The whole point.
Pav.
Yeah, but
that's a very good episode.
Such as Poland. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be playing that, but
no worries.
I watched this video. When was this? This is if I can zoom out just a little bit. It streamed the 28th. So like what 4 days after the quote-unquote invasion began, right?
Yes, yeah.
So at that time, I was desperate to figure out what was going on, and I'm one of those people that didn't know up front. I was one of those people did not know what the fuck was going on. I probably could not pick Ukraine on a fucking map at that time. But since then, I've caught up. This is one of those videos that really helped catch me up. Specifically, it put me into a place that was, I would say, it humbled me because I was listening to, historians at the very least. I think Haley describes. I heard her at least once describe herself as like an amateur historian, but nonetheless, deeper understanding than me, who's a YouTube historian. So that's what I'm getting at, and I think it's really important for us to humble ourselves when we're talking about geopolitical shit, especially war that's breaking out or continuing to break out, excuse me, to be quite fair. Okay. So I really like that episode, and then I caught, because I'm sort of JFK pilled, and I really like the episode with Aaron Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Aaron Good's been on a few times. So his JFK assassination one, and then if like Ian Goodrum's his episode, those were like our earlier episodes that were like pre-recorded. But yeah, no, Ian's been great. Haley's a huge resource for that sort of history and just any kind of like contextual, especially the Cold War stuff.
Yeah.
She's a fucking wealth of knowledge.
I'm so interested in that stuff.
Yeah. And that's really what I love. That's what I love about doing. And I'm perfectly happy playing this sort of like everyman dumb guy role where I don't know half this shit, but have between Q on just general history and sort of the like, especially when it comes to like African and slave revolts, Haitian Revolution stuff. That's basically how me and him started like talking. Was I think someone was saying the Haitian Revolution was a genocide, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. And sort of he started talking, and I started talking to him about it. I'm like, I don't know much about it, but I don't think that one's right. And then he just started explaining it. And he's just like, he's the most done the reading dude I've ever met.
Yes.
And then you've got Hassan, who's really good on tech and STEM stuff. Amanda Yee is an incredible organizer. She's done a lot like with the Prakash stuff in New York. Oh God, I wish I had more links because she's been I can actually pull up a couple links, but she's been covering that a lot of like sort of with the like the elder care workers, I think in Chinatown, who are like working 24-hour shifts for like pennies on the dollar.
Wow.
It's disgusting, but she's been doing so much great work with that. And then, as I said, Haley with like the history. So it's a very incredibly well-rounded panel when you have all 4 of them up there.
Yeah, fucking heavy hitters, I would say. Heavy hitters, and it's an absolute joy to be able to rate out every chance that I get, because I know I'm rating out to people that I sort of like trust their analysis. You know, no one's perfect, but I think you get what I'm saying here. Looking at a clip of the show here, Hassan, Haley, Amanda, Radio Free Amanda, and we got Left Hand Stu. When I learned about the show, Stu, I thought. And I'm glad now that I understand it. Like Q sort of approached you, and you do the production. Do you do production on every episode?
Yeah. So basically, if I'm usually like most of the episodes, like if you don't see me, I'm usually just like, as I said, in the shadow realm working the
okay.
And
Dang,
so
they put you to work.
Yeah, their joke is I'm the Jamie of their podcast. So I'm the one getting the links and pulling them up and stuff and making just so only one of us had to learn how to use StreamYard and shit.
Absolutely.
And then whenever if someone can't make it or we're like a little bit light on the panel, I'll just jump in for like to make wisecracks and stuff.
All right.
Like, that's interesting. Who's that guy? Explain that to me. I don't know this.
I'm gonna be honest. That's what I want to be doing. You got my job. You got my job.
Yeah. No, I snuck in there.
How often do y'all stream?
So right now we've got the Monday stream, which is basically the sort of general culture, history, sort of news roundup. And then me and Q do Wednesdays, which is, as we're calling it, the Canuck Cast, which is sort of just very Canadian centric. We'll sometimes have Kieran Opal jump on, so she's great. She was the one who was running
Henry
all of those
for Senator Frank.
I've got Kieran invited onto my channel. I think they'll be on next Sunday. Sorry to interrupt. And I'm going to ask you to circle back and talk about the Canuck one. But please go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, just Kieran, because she was doing all of those sort of like almost day-long Twitter spaces with. This is
Carl Jha.
That's it. Yeah.
You got like
with
Daniel Dumbrell up in there.
Yeah, because they were like tagging in and out, so they could keep them going forever. I think
VJ Prashad was in there. I was loving those. At a time when I was being, shit on for, I guess revealing the cracks in perhaps left communities that we have on Twitter and or Twitch. And I'm realizing I'm on one side of it, and I'm getting called, fucking Putin apologist or whatever. That was a good resource to have in that time. It started becoming a little repetitive, but you could see how valuable a resource it was, and super cool to hear worldwide views. Please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and continue. Like that's what I like about sort of the cultures, because I don't want to like maybe name names or point the finger, but a lot of the people I would hear, and this is obviously not about you, but just other people that shall remain nameless, who would be providing the only sort of counter narrative to a lot of this stuff or any sort of pushback to it. And it's like, I would really prefer it be someone else doing this. Not to say that like maybe they're entirely wrong, or well, sometimes they're like way off base, but it's just like I like if it's when Q is doing it, he's way more responsible with that sort of stuff. He will go on like panels or other Twitch streams with people he should not be going on with till like sun up, trying to explain some of these things to them. And it's at least better than just having some of these people just sort of ramble and do these things very clearly for their own like self-aggrandizement, which is all I'll say. That's my take on the sort of current Twitch politics sphere, where a lot of it just seems very performative. The only person I will name is like the one I do kind of have begrudging respect for is Dylan Burns, because at least he's like, I'll be Vince McMahon. If this is gonna be wrestling, I will be Vince.
Yeah. Just shameless. Yeah. Excuse me.
Well, I don't know if it's like he's maybe not shameless, but more like he's at least the one being honest about what the beast is, and he's like, if we can get some debates out of this, sure, but most of it's gonna be like professional wrestling and promos and stuff. But like that's the one I'll have the like the only one I have basically anything good to say about. So that's what I'll end that with on a kind of positive note.
Sure. You know, I'll just keep riffing off that. I think when the whole thing started, when the Russian invasion started, and I only say that because, of course, it's been going on since 2014. Stuff's been going on there since 2014. It just felt like everything got elevated really quickly. The cracks in the community show themselves really fast. I found myself on the weird side of a lot of different things going on, and I don't know. At some point, I was like, "Fuck!" Like I'm making this about me at certain different times, and I'm like, "Fuck, this sucks." I gotta log off, and in that log off. Like it was just really important that I like recentered and like realized, you know, the mind like wants to like play these little games, and you got to catch yourself when you're doing it. Hey, Sarah's in the house. Sorry, Sarah wants a cookie. What I'm trying to get at is that it was revealed to me that like at times perhaps I was treating it like a game and others are too, but some people are just never willing to admit that they always treat it like it's a game. It's like a game and they have to win, and it's just like, no, it's not a game, because this is war, and you know, you're in the privileged seat to be able to talk about it from, you know, wherever you're talking about it from.
Yeah. I'm gonna butcher this quote, but it was sort of saying that like for propaganda is almost counterintuitively more effective on like well-educated, well-read, and like smart people, because those people, because of that knowledge that they have, feel like they need to have an opinion on these sort of things. They need to contribute to the discourse. So, and you can't be well-read or knowledgeable about everything. So in the places where you have gaps in that knowledge that even you might not even be aware of, that's where like the propaganda and the need to just sort of like repeat these things can become a lot more effective. So I think that is a very like a good instinct to follow, the opposite of that you were talking about, which is sort of being like, I'm just going to shut up and listen to some people for a while. It doesn't, you don't need to hear my voice. Like that's been my, like for a lot of things you'll see, like, especially like discussions that Q will get in online. If you've seen some, I'll be like, this is an interesting debate. Absolutely nothing will be gained by my input. I don't need to say anything. I'm just going to read and maybe learn some stuff. And I think that's especially true when it comes to war. And things like calling for a no-fly zone, which has been a big thing for a lot of people, where it's like that, like Q has gone it, like go back and listen to some of our episodes. Like it's war. It's not going, hey, no flying here. And the Russians go, well, they called no-fly zone, so we're not going to fly there. It's, you have to like bomb Russian military bases or like air bases, and like their ability to shoot down your planes. It's not just stopping their planes from flying, it's destroying their ability to fight back against your air force. So it's not just closing the sky. And I don't know if like between when you say, okay, we're going to do the no-fly zone, and if and when you actually achieve it, that's going to be an awful time for Poland, for Ukraine, and probably Poland and a lot of the surrounding areas that will have to buy into it to make this work. Because it can't just be the US or Canada going alone. Maybe US could do it, but it's US versus Russia. It's going to be kind of like, it's not going to be a sure thing, I don't think. So you'd have to get a fairly decent coalition, especially from regional partners. And once those missiles start flying, you don't know what's on them. And then things get heated. We may not have James Blunt and his tank commander to resist an order like we did. I think it was like in the 80s.
Right.
just like my favorite story that James Blunt used to be like a tank driver in the British military.
Wait, I don't know. I was thinking of a different story where like someone ignored the nuclear launch code. This is something else.
There's
James
a couple
Blunt?
of those. There was a couple of those
There's a couple
in
of
the
those.
Cold War that are really famous. But my favorite one that is not so famous is that I think it was in the 80s when James Blunt was in the 80s or 90s. I'll just find the link
I can't believe it.
because I've shared it a couple of times, and I'll put it. It's from the BBC.
James Blunt's a tanky.
Literally a tank. And then I'll put it in the chat here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was backed by British General Sir Mike Jackson. They're in Kosovo. They're ordered to attack Russian troops, and they refused the order.
Holy shit. Yeah. Like, do we escalate?
Yeah.
He's NATO. He's a NATO troop. He's there as a NATO, and he's being told to attack a Russian. He attacked Russians to seize the airfield, but the Russians got there first. Holy shit!
Yeah, and they're told to continue to attack the airfield, and it's like if we do that, we are attacking Russia, and then we are at war with Russia.
Oh my gosh! Geopolitics understander James Blunt.
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah, so like there's a lot of stories of that, especially from the Cold War, where like you just have guys going, "I'm not gonna do it. We're not like that," and that's the only thing that stops us from nuclear annihilation is the conscience of like a couple of guys willing to go like, "I'm not gonna turn that key."
I just watched Doctor Strangelove last night for the first time. I can't believe this.
And that's the thing. It's like, how many James Blunts do we have? And how many of the guy who want to ride the fucking missile down waving the cowboy hats do we have?
Giddy up. I think we got more of the latter.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
So James Blunt, part of your Blunt rotation, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cheers.
Because it's like he could play you songs and then tell you war stories. Like those are like freak you out with the war stories and then calm you down with You're Beautiful or something.
My
That'd
gosh.
be great. It's a great Blunt rotation.
All right, James Blunt. Decent guy. Well, we don't know what war crimes he did.
No.
Do you think he did a war crime?
I think he prevented a couple for sure. Just with that.
Fuck. Do you got to hand it to him?
Yeah, I think we might.
NATO tanky.
Just in that situation, we may have to hand it to him.
I think in that situation, that's fair. All right, it's fair. It's fair.
But yeah, so that was I think you're mentioning the other buzzword was tanky, which is almost like, what is that? What do you mean by that when people half the time? Because it's like,
I don't.
It has a specific meaning, and it doesn't just mean is supportive of China. Like it was it was a specific mean. And the other one was like calling the same thing with, I guess the reverse of that is calling people like I don't know, like Mark Zuckerberg an oligarch. It's like that word has meaning. That's their word. They came up with it. That's why they use it. That's why we don't use like Mark Zuckerberg. If he was an oligarch, wouldn't have to go to like the Senate looking like a replicant, trying to like say, "Don't shut me down. Don't break us up."
He did.
I love barbecue.
Uncanny Valley. Like he looked more like a robot than a human.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. No, I keep digressing, but I am on here to plug. I want to keep plugging culture because one of the main things because we're doing I think okay on Twitch.
Okay.
We're close. We're getting close to sort of like partner level. I think we just need to stream more and then we can apply. But on the YouTube, that's my whole thing is I'm trying to get us to the 1,000 subscribers and stuff so we can start monetizing it. And then I guess we're slowly working on like a Substack because we got a bunch of writers working for us and sort of like trying to do like smaller videos so we can clip stuff. But yeah, that's basically like most of it. It's just been really for like on my end great to just a lot of places just sit there while I'm producing and listen to these incredibly smart people just blow my fucking mind. And then as you saw in that clip, me lose my mind at certain shit that they bring up because it's just wild.
That's honestly that sounds like a great gig, a good position to be in, and that's one of the reasons I was hanging out with Kenzo Shibata doing the Meet the Left show.
Yeah.
I honestly I look
Love
at your
Kenzo.
show, and I think that's what our show was sort of aspiring to. So I'd like to hope that maybe like we move shit towards this. Not to say you inspire we inspired you, but like that's always sort of been like one of my things, like as you mentioned, like leftists, actually generally speaking, anyone who starts streaming from scratch, they don't know shit, they don't know how to do things, and I'm just fortunate that I've had enough time to like sit down and figure some of these things out, experiment, etc. I've been doing streaming for almost 2 years, and it's come a long way, right? Not everyone's fortunate to be in that position. So it looks like you've really got a great show over here. I'm super stoked to see more about it. Did you want to talk more about it? Did you have any other favorite episodes that we wanted to talk about?
I think like a lot of my I think like the one just stuff with like anything with Aaron Good.
Okay.
Like you said, the JFK assassination stuff I loved listening to that sort of stuff. He's great.
And then the Indonesia one.
Indonesia,
there's a two-parter.
Yes, that one's a two-parter. That one's a little bit heavier. I think like in total almost about 2.5 hours. But they get into some really deep stuff. They've got like slideshow with images and going really in depth and stuff. But it's
cool. Oh, I'm out of coffee.
Yeah, no, it's great to have like you said, like, because I was like I watched a lot of the Kenzo stuff, like the Meet the Left stuff, and I think that's sort of I don't know about Q, but I think that's like a good standard that I think more people on the left should be working towards, because it's like that's the whole ethos I thought was sort of like the communal work. It's in the word, like working together, sort of. These sort of collective organizations. It's not easy. It's like herding cats, trying to get everybody to sort of get together and be on time for the stream and stuff. But it's worth it. I think we should be striving for it more. I think, like it's given me sort of more leeway to go on different stuff, like I think I was sort of listening in before when Igloo showed up, I was speaking to him about the trucker protest.
Yeah.
So it was great to have, I guess, that sort of outlet to sort of talk about it from the perspective of, obviously I live in Ottawa and I was down there a lot and got to sort of explain what is actually happening from that perspective, and just sort of not have to listen to a bunch of especially Americans, not on you, but again, people who shall remain nameless, saying that like Justin Trudeau is imminently going to be meeting with the leaders of the truckers because it's so obvious to him. And I'm like, what based on what? So just being able to sort of counter, like have a platform I can go on, because I stream, but it's for like a smaller audience, because I'm just sort of basically doing straight news stuff and then playing video games. So I'm not really expecting, I don't need a lot of people on there. If I have like 15 to 20 people chatting with me, I'm happy, so I can play my video games. But having a platform like this where I can sort of kind of say my piece and know that there are actually people who are going to see it and maybe rethink some things, it feels really good, at least. And then just being something to have to tide me over before I find my next sort of reporting gig, and have somewhere to put some stuff in between then, if I do some reporting between then, because it's Ottawa, it's the nation's capital. It's a boring city, but there's always something happening.
Did I get a chance to ask you to go into a little bit of detail about like I'm outside Canada, so when it came time for me to talk about the Canadian Truckers Rally, I didn't. I asked Igloo to tell me about it.
Yeah.
And Igloo also mentioned you, by the way, as someone influential to them, and wanted to make sure we pass that on. But
yeah, no, that feels great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wonder, I peeked in a little bit to your stream yesterday, the Canuck cast, I forget what you call it, and talking with Q, and I noticed, maybe we could spend a minute or two on this, as long as you want. There's some new medical stuff going through. So you all already have like
yes.
some Medicare for all type stuff up there that we don't got here. We don't get anything. We don't have anything. We get nothing. Anyways, and it seems like yours is improving. You're getting dental, or is this just a proposal? What's happening here? It's the long short of it.
So the like we have a parliamentary system. So if you don't know what that means, it's like we don't really like vote for a president, or we like
I like that.
the only people. Yeah. So we vote for parliamentary composition. So we have an MP for each riding where you live in. You vote for who you want for that, and they get sent to parliament. And whichever party has the most of their members elected to parliament will usually get to the leader of their party will become prime minister. So what that allows for is if you don't have the majority of the seats in the parliament, you can do things like coalitions, which means like it's two different parties. In this case, the Liberals and the NDP, and that new Democratic party, which are sort of a little bit more to the left than the Liberals. So they've signed sort of, they're not calling it a coalition, which was the joke of the title, but they're calling it like a supply in confidence agreement, which means you give us these things and we'll make sure that your government has the confidence of the parliament and we'll be able to get all your other stuff passed. So if you want it, so if you give us these things, we'll make sure your budget gets passed every year. Because if you try to pass your budget and the parliament doesn't pass it, it could very likely trigger an election because you don't have the confidence of the House.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like if you can't pass your own shit and you're the prime minister, like we probably need to have a new election and figure things out again.
This happened back in 2019, real quick. Is that?
Well,
okay. And this is what resulted?
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, it didn't. That's not what happened. It was the Liberals just sort of called it on their own, because that's another thing the prime minister can do. He can go to the governor general and be like, hey, I think we should have an election right now. Usually it's done because they think they can improve their position and go from maybe a minority to a majority government,
right.
Meaning on your own party has the majority of the seats, not just a plurality. Mm-hmm. Funny thing about that election was we almost to the vote had the exact same result we got prior to the election.
That's a good investment.
Very good investment.
Started from the bottom and we're still on the bottom. Shit.
Yeah, we could have done the Joker shit where it just piled it all up in all the money in a mountain and just lit it on fire and gotten the exact same result.
It would have been fun, more fun. Honestly,
we could have watched it burn at least. So that was so this basically will mean that if all goes well, the Liberals will stay in government and we won't have to have an election till 2025. And part of the proposal is that starting by the end of 2022, children under 12 will get free dental. Then by 2023, it'll mean like
Russia is trying to
18-year-olds and under. And then by 2025, anyone making under $90,000 a year will get free dental with copays. And then there'll be other things that they've said to extend or continue. But that's one of the main sort of concrete things that they've planned to install, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
If I make less than $90,000, I could go to the dentist for a little bit cheaper. But it's mostly, I think what's happening is Justin Trudeau, I don't think wants to go through another election. And the lady in waiting, Chrystia Freeland, who is our deputy prime minister, I think they want to give her a 3-year runway to step into the prime minister seat, because if Justin Trudeau steps away as leader of the Liberals and she becomes leader of the Liberals, she is now prime minister. You don't have to do another election. It's just whoever whoever the Liberal Party elects as their leader. If they're in government, that becomes prime minister. So it would give Chrystia Freeland a 3-year runway, basically, or however long until after Justin Trudeau steps aside, till the next election to sort of cement herself as prime minister. That's my sort of not educated conspiracy theory. I don't want to say it's definitely going to happen, but I'm pretty sure.
Here's the problem. Yeah.
Oh no. Go for but Chrystia Freeland, if you know better her, she is the The one who's she's very influential with the So you know about Christopher Freeland.
And the mayor of Toronto is right there too.
Say no more.
So her grandfather was like a Nazi journalist?
He was the editor of a newspaper in Ukraine that was sort of requisitioned by the Nazis to create propaganda, and his family moved into the home of of a Jewish family that had been taken by the Nazis. The home was taken by them. So, and she when this first came out, she said this was like Russian misinformation.
Oh wow!
And then I think like her uncle, who she worked on a family history text with, was like, damn well.
They knew for 20 years, right? She's known for 20 years.
She knows. She knows who her she's a very smart, very educated, very well read on her own history and culture. So these things, I do not buy the whole she didn't know sort of thing.
It's pretty much, you can't spin it. You can't lie about it. Just ignore it and then cross your fingers that you become the Prime Minister of Canada.
Well, the way you spin it is that, well, because of how terrible the communists were, they had to do this. When you understand the way that Ukraine was treated it's why the double genocide Holodomor sort of victims of communism memorial sort of thing is happening in Canada.
Hold on, there's a Holodomor / victims of communism memorial going up in Canada.
It's called. So this is the sort of pet project of, I think, the Premier of Alberta, Jason Kenney, and he's trying to create a victims of communism memorial, I believe, in Ottawa. It has not been created yet, but funnily enough, they created a website where people could submit nominations for names to go on the wall. And the odd thing about a lot of the people who are being named as victims of communism is that the reason they were the victims of communism, is this, because they were Nazis. They were killed by communists because they were Nazis.
Every fucking time, dude. Okay. Let me give you a little taste of my journey.
Yeah.
You watch the Gravel Institute video. You find out, holy shit, we're giving arms to Nazis. I literally open the door and I tell my partner, Mel, we're giving arms to Nazis. She's like, what? I'm like, it's weird. It's in Ukraine. And I'm like, so is Israel. She's like, what? I know. Anyways, and then everyone starts telling you, if you talk about the Nazi thing or even focus on it too much, whatever the fuck that means, you're doing the Russian propaganda. You're Putin's apologist. Yada 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 yada. And then we just start seeing them everywhere. We just start seeing them everywhere. NATO posting pictures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I pulled up the picture of the NATO instructor teaching the room full of Azov battalion, and of course we know they're Nazis, how to use their NLAW, the British NLAW rocket launchers. And I literally had someone in chat, this is like maybe a tweak of the quote, but almost a perfect quote. They said, Dan, there aren't as many Nazis as you see, which means, like, it was very weird. Like, what a weird Nazi Jedi mind trick to use. But we keep seeing them everywhere. You cannot deny it. And they keep saying, well, there aren't that many of them, but we keep seeing them everywhere.
Well, there is. So this is not to play devil's advocate, but this is more to condemn Western media. Azov Battalion specifically is very smart at their sort of PR game, and they're very good at gaming Western media, which is why they show up so much in Western media coverage, because like you have, I think, if I was being very generous, you have a lot of uncritical reporters who are taking this info going, we have this like inside source, like he's in a battalion in the Ukraine, he's sending us these photos and all this information, and just a lot of times just not really doing the legwork to look into who these guys might be, what the symbols on their jackets are, who Stepan Bandera is, as we saw with, I think it was the Clash guy, who's kind of been sort of digging himself a hole recently. So I think that's, if I was being very generous, it's just a lot of it is just they're getting this information. It's very uncritical, like being received very uncritically and just being sent out there. But a lot of it is like, if people will say like, well, only 20% of Azov Battalion identify as like far right extremists or Nazis. It's like, well, that's like a lot for a battalion of how many? And then the other 80% are just cool with the open Nazis hanging out near them at the very least.
Man.
And we've known a bit, like there's a very good journalist in Ottawa called David Pugliese. You might have seen him on Twitter a bit, but he's a FOIA Jedi, where he'll set up FOIA traps for like government officials, where he'll send an initial FOIA. So the one he was doing was on, I'll send this link, the Canadian officials who met and sort of attended a party with Azov Battalion because Canada was in there training and supplying weapons to Ukrainian military prior to the invasion. So the way he got this story was he sent an initial FOIA to the Defense Department saying, I would like any sort of documents and records relating to Canada's Joint Task Force in Ukraine working with Azov Battalion. So he'll send that, wait for their response, or like them to say, we've received it, we'll send you a response. Then he sends a second FOIA asking for any internal documents, communications, or like emails or whatever relating to his initial FOIA. So when he sends the initial FOIA,
It's a trap.
yeah. So when he sends the initial FOIA and they all start sending out panicked emails going like, do this, do that, blah, 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 you need to start doing this. Well, here are your new recommendations about this. Once they've all sent that, he sends the next FOIA, and it's a lot harder to redact those sort of communications because they're not really unofficial documents. You just sort of sent this on your personal email. So that's where he gets a lot of these sort of like really good stories from them just sort of freaking out after his initial FOIA.
That's incredible.
Incredible work.
Masterful. It's like a dance, you know? It's just it's like a ballet. Watching someone
note the headline for this.
Yes,
November 9th, 2021.
Yeah.
Or the date for this. Sorry, not the headline, the date.
Yeah, they were talking about it then. And they weren't doing Russian propaganda then, apparently, but we're doing it now by talking about them. I literally think this is a helmet that probably the U.S. sent. We've sent like 50,000 or something helmets over there and like uniforms and shit.
Put
And then
the thing on with a Sharpie.
looks like a Sharpie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? But of course they've got plenty of patches with Wolfsangels, the Schwarze Sonne, the Black Sun, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they can't stop taking pictures of them and then like using them as if like we should. They used a picture of a woman from International Women's Day. NATO posted it to their own Twitter.
Yeah.
They just can't stop. And I know I can only talk about one example at a time. Yeah,
it's very hard to keep like to not get these photos and then like bring it back to Canada. Like we have a very sort of sizable Ukrainian diaspora. I think we have one of the largest.
Okay.
Ukrainian diasporas outside of Ukraine, like sort of the largest Ukrainian population outside of Ukraine in the world. And there were some sort of like the Ukrainians that they specifically brought in say 1946 were sort of brought in to counteract like those sort of more left-wing labor organizing Ukrainians that were already in Canada. Maybe apocryphal, but a lot of the Ukrainians that were brought in during that wave were checked specifically to see if they had the SS tattoos.
What?
And then, yes, I will find this is
holy shit.
we like so,
Gosh.
and that's why we end up with monuments like the one. Go to the second link the second last link I put in there from the CVC. That's why we end up with memorials like this in like Edmonton in Alberta.
Let me pull that up again. Not the last one, but the second to last one. The penultimate one. Jewish groups call for removal of vandalized Ukrainian WW2 memorial.
Yeah. So it's a memorial, if you can't read the Cyrillic, it's a memorial honoring the 14th Waffen SS Division, and that is located in St. Michael's Cemetery in Northeast Edmonton.
What? What's the 14th? What's the 14th Waffen? What's the Waffen? Where the planes?
No,
forget.
that was
The tanks?
they were a Nazi unit.
Oh no!
For escalation. Yeah, you can do a little bit of reading on that one.
I'll have to dig back into this. Okay, this is where my rabbit hole, I guess, bottoms out. I need to keep digging here.
Yeah, but this is they did some genocides of their own against the Polish and some bad groups, and that's like we have a lot of like memorials to them, or Stepan Bandera, who is seen as a national hero in Ukraine for fending off the communists during like I guess the 30s and 40s. So it's that's we have a couple of these. So it's sort of been like an issue that I think a lot of countries didn't really deal with, and sort of wanted to pretend that in 1946 all the Nazis disappeared and we don't have a problem with them anymore. So we don't want, even as horrific and as bad as what Putin is doing, it like to try and keep to elevating and valorizing groups like the Azov. That is going to come back and bite us in the ass. We can already kind of see it in Ukraine when it comes to like people getting like duct taped to telephone posts.
Oh my God.
And Roma being attacked. So
are we to believe? Okay, I think I was told, and I don't know if this is true. I hate to be spreading misinformation, but I try to be cautious about it. The people with like their faces like painted red, like blue greenish color. Are those allegedly Roma or just are they just?
I think I've seen. I think it's been, but I've heard different explanations for why and who it is. Some people have said it's because it's a reference to the orc comment.
Oh my! The Untermenschen comment.
Well, when they called the Chechens orcs.
Oh shit!
So giving them green skin like orcs. That was I don't know, but so I've heard of a couple. But the only thing is, like I don't know if really what the reasoning for why they're doing it.
Yeah,
is
fog of war.
Yeah, it's this like the fact that it's happening. It's like this is why people were raising these alarm flags, because it's like there's going to be collateral, to say the least. It's not just these guns aren't just going to be pointed at Russians.
Yeah,
especially when you had that first like sort of push at the beginning of the invasion where they were just sort of handing out guns willy-nilly. It's like, well, who are you handing those out to? And how are they going to use? Are you sure they're going to pointing them at Russians, or are they going to use them for their own purposes?
All right. Can you imagine that happening in your community?
Yeah, you would not want that. You would not, if like people are saying, well, if they were coming, if you were being invaded, you would want everyone to be. It's like I would not feel comfortable with a foreign military arming like the Proud Boys in Canada. That would not make me feel comfortable. No matter, like, if we were being invaded by Russians, I would like, we could figure out a way to not give those guys guns, right? Because they're not going to just point, like, they're going to use it for their own. So I don't know. That's the problem with there's kind of well-regulated militia that you're just sort of throwing up. It's kind of an oxymoron. It's like there's nothing well-regulated about this. It's just sort of and then I think the blowback for that is you're sort of telling the Russians to assume that any Joe Blow civilian on the street could be packing heat, waiting to take you out. Like that was basically what that was like, to criticize, like, not to do whataboutism, but that's basically what the US was doing in Afghanistan and Iraq, where it's like any military aged male was seen as an enemy combatant, because they all could be, because they could all, I guess, be carrying explosives or a machine gun. And now you've said this to the Russians, which is like, I don't know. I think that's mostly was my issue, where it's like, we kind of need to slow shit down and kind of think about this a little bit more than just go, they're the bad guys. This is horrific. Grab your weapons and let's go. It needs to be a lot more considered than that, especially in a nuclear age.
It's been confirmed a couple different times that there's no mechanisms to make sure that guns are not ending up in the hands of Nazis. And in fact, the Department of Defense knows this very well. I was struck by something. Because a lot of them
have sort of washed their hands of it. It's like, well, we're giving the weapons to the Ukrainian military, and then they decide what to do with the weapons. It's like, well, that's not great. That's not great.
Yeah, and of course, it's the same move they've done all over the place, and we all know about the concept of blowback, or as Hillary Clinton likes to call it, there were some unintended consequences. And it's the strangest thing is that it's the same move they do all over the place. They not only are willing to fund far right groups, it seems to be what they do. It's like, what is their move? And now I wonder, like, well, you've armed all these people in Ukraine. Are we going to get those guns back? Do we just militarize that zone permanently? And I'm afraid that may be the case.
Well, you had people since you mentioned Hillary Clinton saying they wanted to turn Ukraine into another Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And
it's the model they're looking
towards. We cared about the Ukrainian people. Jesus. You know how many Afghanis died during the Afghan invasion? And then because of that, how many died with America cleaning up the shit it caused from the first one? So, yeah.
Maybe they are thinking about that. They're like, hey, Ukraine, it's got a lot of wheat. There's probably some minerals there. We'll steal their central bank just like we did Afghanistan, and then when we leave, we'll just complain that girls don't get to go to school.
Yeah, we'll steal all of their money. It's like the argument's like, well, they've gone back on all that. It's not your money to bargain with.
Yeah,
you're plundering Vikings. Give it back. People are dying. I'm pretty sure at the very least, the Taliban doesn't want all of the people they rule over to just die. I don't know if they want to rule over like dust. It's like they should, like, at the very least, it's because people will bring up like, well, what about this? What about this? It's like, I don't think you have the right to decide what that country does with its own money. You've taken enough. Give it back.
Yeah. What about none of the times when this has ever worked?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the Arrested Development. It's like, well, has it worked any of the other times? No, but I think with us it will.
I think there are dozens of us. So, yeah. Stu, it looks like we're looking here down the barrel at the end of our chat, just because we're looking at the top of the hour, and I've really enjoyed talking with you.
Oh, yeah, it was a great chat.
Absolutely my pleasure, by the way. Having me. Great work over there on TheKulture.tv. I'm going to put your links there in the chat again. Folks can find you on Twitter and on YouTube at Left Hand Stu and TheKulture.tv with a K. Any other projects you wanted to mention here at the end?
No, we'll just keep an eye out. We'll be dropping our Substack for the cool. more text-based side soon. Looking, there's no the Culture YouTube link isn't in there. Because that's sort of my pet project right now, is to try and get that to. Oh, no worries. Just trying to get that to 1,000 subscribers, so then we qualify for monetization, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's the.
Wait.
Yeah, and then
No, it's like 4,000. Oh, it was a 4,000 subscribers, and
I thought it was.
And then like 4,000 hours watched.
I thought it said 1,000 subscribers and then 4,000 hours watched.
All right, I could be tripping.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm sorry.
And then also, I think I should just shout out Strike Poster.
Okay.
On Twitter, they made our sick as hell. They made all of the graphics and stuff.
Cool. Good move.
Yeah.
They do good work.
Yeah, they do very good work. I fucking love that with the camera and the looking like the AK. It's sick. Yeah, they're very talented people.
Wait, let me pull that up again. Let me see that. Let me try to find that one again. That just dropped recently. If I can.
Oh, the image they gave us.
Yeah.
I'll drop it in the chat for you. The tweet.
Cool. Just coming out pretty good. Okay. Let's see here. Boom. Okay. Well, Stu, I think you've been just a wonderful guest. Really enjoyed chatting with you today.
Oh yeah.
Folks, make sure you're checking out TheKulture.tv. Stu does really, really good work over there. Proud of y'all. I'm very excited to continue tuning in. I've actually, it's like one of my top 3 to 5 resources right now. No joke.
Hell yeah.
Looking forward to going back into your library. I've got a lot to catch up on, including those Indonesia episodes with Adam Good. Adam Good?
Perfect.
Excellent.
Yes. Aaron Good. Aaron Good.
Aaron. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad, Adam. Good, Aaron. Aaron, good. All right.
All right, thank
Stu,
you very
thank
much.
you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Peace, solidarity. Thanks so much, bud.
Have a good one.
All right, have a good one. That was it.
All
that
right.
was Stu. Thanks again, bud.
See ya.
Left hand Stu.